with every single decision you make in your life, there is the possibility for regret, because for every path you take, there are 100 paths or more that you didn't. And the amount of, because I'm a musician, the amount of people that say to me, oh, I regret not learning the piano, I think there is the possibility that I might look back on my life and go, oh gosh, I could have done that differently. And I have to make my peace with that,
Welcome to We Are Childfree, a podcast about child-free women and the lives we lead. I'm your host, Zoe, and each episode I'll speak with another incredible woman about her decision not to have children and what it's meant for her life. Today's guest is the multi-talented Fiona Finsbury. She is an opera singer, yoga teacher, and life coach. She's also a big believer in the power of intention. One day she sat down to plan her goals for the next 5-10 years, and children just didn't appear in that future. Realizing that motherhood was only one of the many paths open to her changed Fiona's whole outlook on life. This conversation was so enlightening. Fiona really got me thinking about how, when you choose one life path, you're turning your back on others, and that always leaves open the possibility of regret. We reflected on imagining a child-free future with your partner, leaving a different kind of legacy, the kind of judgments faced by child-free women and mothers alike, and how we can best support each other. Introducing the super thoughtful and talented Fiona Finsbury.
Growing up, I, like many of my contemporaries, grew up playing with dolls and, watching the stories about the princess and the prince and the happy ending and the children at the end, and so whether it's nature or nurture, I grew up just accepting and believing that that's what happens next. You go to school, then you might go to uni, then you get a job, then you get married, then you have a baby. That path, which is very much a path and is one path in a multiverse of paths.
Yeah.
So growing up, I always thought that I would have children, and I didn't think twice about people in my family or at school or wherever, in my work, saying, when you have kids, when you have children. I didn't think twice about it because I thought that's just what you do. That's what humans do. And I don't know that there was a specific moment. I remember thinking to myself, like, is that what I want? Is that really what I want? And then a huge wave of relief when I thought, oh, I don't have to have a baby.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
Huge wait, thinking that, because actually I remember I got very into, once I'd realised how powerful intention is, and that I can, and that I can achieve my goals and I can bring about the things that I want to bring about in my life. And I think hitherto I'd been brought up with a very lack mentality and an idea that, like, some people have that, but that's not for you. And once I'd got my head around the idea that you can create, or that I can create, and that I can live the life that I choose, which I understand, I want to acknowledge that comes from a place of enormous privilege. Yeah, once I got my head around that, I started to think, what is it I want, and started writing out, over the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And I'd written a few things I wanted to do, and just children didn't feature in that timeline, just happened not to be there. And to think, oh my gosh, I don't have to, and to think that this there's another path and there's another way, really expanded my horizon, really made me go, wow, I can do so many things. That is one thing of many, many things that could happen. And the other side to it is that I've been waiting for this maternal instinct to appear in a cloud of, sparkles and dust. And I feel, I've been waiting for that feeling, because I believe that creating and crafting humans is a decision that deserves a lot of thought, a lot of contemplation and planning, and intention.
What you're saying, it rings so true to my own experience as well. I mean, I was the same as you. There was never really a defining moment, and it kind of just crept up on me when when I thought about my past as well. When people would ask me, I didn't ever say like, oh no, never having children, because you're right, you kind of are told from society, this is what you do, this is the path that you take, and you don't even know or realize you can question that and decide to take another route. And when you realize that this is your life, this is your experience, and you can do something different, it's such a relief. So I feel you when you said that. It was a really amazing moment to kind of accept that, this isn't the route that myself and many other women want to take, and it's okay to not take that route. So yeah, I mean, what about your husband then, Danny? Is he, because this is something that obviously it's a very personal thing for each woman, and it's complicated when a partner comes into the picture. Had you guys discussed children ever, or was this something he also agreed with you on?
I think for Danny, again, like me, he'd just always assumed it would happen at some point and hadn't given much thought to it.
Right.
And when we sat down and talked about it, I think it took him some time to get used to the idea, because he had imagined this future in which he was a father. And so we had discussions where, I said, well, what's important to you? Because if that is more important, if being a father is more important to you, then that's something we need to talk about in terms of our future, because I don't want to take that from you or be the reason you don't have it. And there was never really an ultimatum or never a crossword. It was more of taking time to sit with the ideas and what the future looks like. And the more that we discussed it, the more we came to the understanding and the agreement that we wanted to be child-free, and that we wanted to, our love and our love together to be the family. And we are, and we do consider ourselves to be a family, and that is the most important thing to us, is each other and holding on to each other and nourishing and cherishing each other.
Yeah, it's like people have this weird attitude that, your family is only with children, which drives me insane, because it's as if, if you don't have a child with your relationship, somehow you can't be a family. And I think that's just really short-sighted, because, I think of myself and, James, my husband, and my dog, we are absolutely a family. And it's kind of rude for people to say that, that without this thing in your life, you don't have a family. I mean, have you ever, really been criticized then for the decision?
There have been a few moments in my life over the years where where it's been very confronting, I think, both for me and for the person asking.
Okay.
I used to get very, very defensive about it, and very just thinking like, how dare you assume, like, what do you know about me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just where I was at with the journey of it, because to me, I was, professionally outraged that people would assume that it was, physically and mentally possible for me, because that's a huge consideration. And, a lot of, how do they not know that Danny and I have been trying for 9 years and are desperate, and
right.
That that's something that I'm very thinking about it. I would be very cautious to ask any woman about it because of that nature, and that is one possibility, and it can be very, very upsetting for people.
Yeah.
And I would also I would also be, furious that that the status quo is that you're assumed childbearing, and unless proven or unless you self-declare or you come out, it's in a similar way to, you're assumed straight until you come out as gay,
Right?
and that's me being angry at a person who said it, when really I'm just angry at I was angry at the world going, like, why can't it be the norm, and why do people just assume you want children if you and the reason it's the norm is because it has been ever thus, for hundreds of years, and the women without children are portrayed in literature as like witches, evil witches who murder their stepdaughters, or like spinsters and sad Miss Havisham, So
it's lovely.
I don't know about you. I am in my wedding dress right now,
cobwebs everywhere,
surrounded by just moldy food. So
I mean, it's how we roll. It is a weird the way where women who choose not to have children are depicted is a very lonely existence, and I mean, to me, it couldn't be further from that. I mean, without having that responsibility and that stress and that pressure, you can do a lot with your life, and it doesn't. Another thing that people will say about women are selfish if they don't have children. I think it's another crazy assumption that they don't. It's just people making assumptions about other people's lives, which is why I really wanted to do this series, because I just think no one should even be asking anyone about such personal things in their lives. You'll get, obviously, either strangers will ask, will criticize your decision or ask questions, people and it comes from all areas sometimes as well, which is disappointing. But like you said, it's society. This is what we've done for hundreds of years, and going against it puts you as an outlier, as a bit of a weirdo. But I do think, obviously, it will change. I mean, more women are choosing not to have children, and with the way the world is going, I mean, with this whole, COVID-19, it's a scary time in the world. So I feel like more women will be coming out as not wanting to add that extra pressure and stress into their lives, unless they really, really, really want children. And you're right, you have to really think about such a decision in your life that changes everything. And I think I always knew if I wasn't 100% in, I would never, ever take that risk, whereas maybe some people, they do it and they hope it'll change their mind. And I just think, God, that's a big risk.
Yeah, and that's interesting, actually, the changing your mind thing. That is something that I have, that people have said that to me over the years, and someone said it quite recently. Someone who I know very well said it to me quite recently, and I, my clap back in my, when you imagine yourself giving, snapping right back, would have been, well, are you going to change your mind about the child that you're having? Because you can turn around and ask the same question.
Absolutely.
It's very strange that people would assume that there's you can definitely change your mind about wanting them, but what about if you've already had them? Like,
oh my gosh. And I imagine there's quite a lot of people who have them and do regret it. I mean, I know a few friends, and they never realized how difficult it really was going to be. And I think, obviously, it's very, very difficult for a woman to ever admit that they regret that decision of having a child, which I also think is rubbish. I think it's really hard for women to have a baby, bring up a child. And they, in this world, women don't get the support they need. So I think I'm not surprised that many people probably do regret the decision, but it's something that, it's such a taboo subject of a woman ever, admitting that having a child is anything but the most magical experience in the world. We all know there's ups and downs to every decision we make. So do you think you will ever regret the decision then? I'm thinking no from what you're saying, but
The thing is, what I think with every single decision you make in your life, there is the possibility for regret, because for every path you take, there are 100 paths or more that you didn't.
Right.
And the amount of, because I'm a musician, the amount of people that say to me, "Oh, I regret not learning the piano."
Right.
I think there is the possibility that I might look back on my life and go, "Oh gosh, I could have done that differently."
Yeah.
And I have to make my peace with that, and in the same way that someone who has children might look back on their life and think, "Oh, that could have been different." And I want to live my life in a way that I feel proud of myself and that I am kind and loving to others, and I make music and travel and am brave and create good things in the world. And I want to leave a legacy. The legacy that I want to leave is to leave behind enough money so that kids who want to train in music can afford to if they can't.
Oh wow!
So that's really important. Those are the things that are important to me. To spend time with my husband and the people I love, and just live in a way that I can look back on and be proud of. And so far, I think I am doing the work in order to look back and be happy and be proud.
Yeah. And that's what I think everyone should do, right? I mean, that's all we can really hope for a great life. I mean, and that's such an amazing thing, because the idea of leaving behind a legacy is another thing that people get so stuck up on. And I think it's such a wonderful idea to leave behind, to help other people, but after you have died, to let them live their life that they want to lead, So why do you think there is a stigma attached to women who choose not to have children?
Yeah, I mean, on the very basic level, the biological argument being that, your body wants you to do it, or your natural instinct is to repopulate. So on a very base, like we're talking evolutionary level, I wonder if there is a resistance to it in people, just a natural kind of subconscious resistance to not procreating, because back in the day when we actually needed to procreate at an exponential level, not doing it would be dangerous. Not doing it might mean that you wouldn't have enough soldiers to fight the neighboring tribe. And I think tradition plays a large part of it. Religion and even those of us who aren't religious are deeply influenced by religion and religious structures, and cultural ideas and stories in history and in literature and fact and fiction. There's so much about the sanctity of the family unit and the idea of women and their purpose and their the Mother Earth. There's so much when you look through history of pregnant women being worshipped, and they should be. It's absolutely incredible what mothers do, and I wonder if we've taken it a little bit too far in that the other option is fearful for some people. And it is fear that divides us, isn't it? Fear is the thing that makes people phobic or literally, homophobic, transphobic, racist. These things that it's because people are afraid of the unknown. And this being child free, this choosing the other path is, I wonder if it's about the unknown and the not understanding that choice, so being fearful of it or critical of it.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, I think when people find out you don't want children, it's almost as if they think you're telling them their way of life is wrong, or what they're doing is wrong, instead of just going, okay, you live your life how you would like, I'll live my life how I would like, and we are all happy in, and that's what I think should happen. But obviously it feels like there's a lot more resistance when you kind of say, I'm not going to do what you're doing. And there's a lot of assumptions about the reason behind that as well, which I think people, can just, their imagination can go wild, and somehow you're thinking that, if you have a child, you're stupid, or you're kind of following into the patriarchy and doing what you're told to do. And it's like, it couldn't really be further. It's more, women should be able to decide what they want to do in this life, and no one should judge them, right? And we just get so much judgment for having kids, don't have kids. It comes from all areas, really. My sister-in-law, she has a child, and she tells me she gets funny questions about, like, when's the next one coming? You can't yeah. So you can't just have one child. You can't just have one. That's then that's kind of selfish, because then they don't have a friend, and it's like, oh my God, can we just let up on
live and let live,
right?
I think it's a similar thing in that, like, so I'm a vegan,
right?
And I sometimes feel when people ask me about being a vegan, and often there's a lot of defensiveness that comes my way, and my understanding of that is, so me saying I'm a vegan, they think I'm then criticizing their life choice,
right? Exactly.
And it's this thing about life choices, and I'm quite nervous for my, some of my dearest friends even to hear this podcast, because I have a fear that they might think, because some of my dearest friends in the world have children,
right?
Will they think me, outing myself as a child-free woman is in some way a criticism of them,
right?
And really, I think I support them and their decision and their life choices 100%, and I'm so behind them, and yet I do have a fear that they might think I'm somehow commenting on them, when really, feminism is about choice. Feminists have fought for women to be able to choose what they want to do with their lives, as they say.
Yeah.
So, my life choice is not a criticism of yours, as your life choice is not a criticism of mine. And really, let's celebrate one another and let's support one another.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need as much support as we can get, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always that tricky thing when you have friends and they have kids, and do I need to explain to them that this series it's not anything negative against their choices? But then I'm like, no, because if they're true friends, they know that I love them and I, respect their decision. And if they are true friends, they will do the same for me. And there is no criticism coming towards them. Any criticism I ever have is towards society as a whole, about telling women to be put in a box of doing, this one thing. And that's what I have criticism for, which comes more from, like you said, religion and the patriarchy of what women are meant to be on this planet. And but true friends, they will understand you and realize that this is just not something you see in your life. And no one should do something or have such, this is a huge thing to have a child. No one should make that decision to have a child and take it so lightly. And because, you may do it and it may mess up everything. And especially if you're not 100% in it, the women that I know that are having kids, they always knew they wanted them as well. My sister, the friends that I've got that have children or are pregnant, they always said they need to do this. There is no kind of question about it. And I'm like, brilliant. Do it. I will be the best auntie that I can be. And but yeah, there is always that in the back of your mind, isn't there? About I hope people who I think of as friends aren't going to think I'm saying something negative about their way of living, which it's not about that.
And I want to thank you for making this podcast and creating this space, because in giving women the opportunity to talk about it, you are helping to normalize it, and normalizing something destigmatizes it. And, you are a part of the change, which is awesome. So thank you.
Oh, this is amazing for me to just be able to meet other women like me. I mean, I did this because I just wanted the opportunity to change people's perspectives, and doing it. I mean, the best thing about doing this series is about meeting these women, and like yourself, they're strong, independent, they're creative, they know their own minds, that they're giving, loving. So it's wonderful to meet other women like me. And when I have messages from people telling me that they don't feel alone anymore because of what they're reading from the series, I know that this is the right thing, that we need this, because no one should feel alone or ashamed. And I know it's, for some people, they have a much more difficult kind of experience when they tell people they don't want children. Everyone has different, friends, family, careers. So it really, having this safe space is just somewhere that I hope that women can come, they can listen to different experiences and know that they're not alone. So this is, what is giving me joy right now to do this. So I'm so thankful that you came and you shared your story as well, Fiona. It was super, super interesting and eye-opening. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
We Are Childfree is hosted by me, Zoe Noble, and produced by James Glazebrook. If you liked this episode, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, as this really helps other people find us. Head to WeAreChildfree.com to read more stories from incredible child-free women and find out how to share your story with me. Speak soon, lovelies.